morning. Welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Priscilla Marcus, and I was very honored to serve as a member of the Live Oak Ministerial Search Committee. This morning, Worship Associate Ellen Hamilton will join our Minister Emerita, Wienecke, in leading our worship service. Today, after a very successful year-long process, we are overjoyed to welcome our new settled minister, Reverend Tamara Suzuki, in our midst, along with her husband, Gary, as we worship together. They couldn't contain themselves. She will preach her first sermon next Sunday, August 10th. This is a very joyful, celebratory weekend so far, and welcome. Reverend Betts served as a Live Oak UU congregation from 1986 until she retired in 2004 and was honored to receive the honorary title of Minister Emerita. Betts served as this district's ministerial settlement representative for 8 years, advising and consulting with 29 UU congregations about how to maneuver the UU ministerial search process. She says there's a disclaimer: she did not advise Live Oak of any of its searches. So we did this on our own. Betts received her BA from UCSB and an MA in counseling from Cal State University Northridge and her Master of Divinity from Claremont Theological School. During her active ministry, Betts served on the UU Ministers Association Executive Committee, on the Board of Trustees of Meadville Lombard Theological School, was president of this district's Ministers Association chapter, and president of the Santa Barbara Clergy Association. Betts' spouse, Peter Hasland, is the reason Betts first came to Santa Barbara. He presently serves on the Santa Barbara City College Board of Trustees, where he taught political science for 41 years. They proudly share 4 adult children and 5 above average, of course, grandchildren. Many of us have found a spiritual home at Live Oak after searching for a place that felt caring and welcoming. We've stayed because we need one another, and we know that here we can turn to other humans for hope, for comfort, for support, for sustenance, for joy, and for meaningful work together, both within these walls and outside in our communities. After worshiping together, we make time for coffee, tea, and conversation on the patio, and we appreciate the opportunity to reach out to new acquaintances, to welcome new seekers in our midst. Everyone is encouraged to read the weekly Acorn Bulletin, which I bring up the yellow sheet of paper that was with your order service, which lists our current congregational events and activities. We are glad that you are with us.
I would like to have you join with me in reading a responsive reading, which is on the screen, I hope, and it is one by Gordon McKeeman. And I would read the regular letters, and I would appreciate it if you would read the italicized sentences. May this congregation grow as a force for wholeness amid chasms and chasms of separation. A force for healing the illness of body and soul. A force for liberation from diverse bondages to past, to unrecognized prejudice, to profit.
May this congregation be a sacred place that nurtures us in courage, confidence, and compassion, a welling source of attention to the miracle and majesty of creation, a welling source of solace in our grief, of joy in our accomplishments, of gratitude for our lives.
May this congregation be ever more fully a voice for the silenced, a refuge for the dispossessed, a home for the wanderer, a launching pad for the explorer.
May this congregation be ever more fully a certainty for the doubter, a doubting for the
maybe you remember what it was like when it was your first day of school, or the first time you went to part of a team, or what other kind of first event have you tried? The first time going to sleepaway camp, that's a big deal, isn't it? What else? What other kind of first experiences where you went to something you've never been to before and maybe you knew one or two people that not very. Yes. Surf camp. Very exciting. Was it scary? No. It was fun. Yes. Soccer team? Was it hard to go the first time? Oh, okay, so you were used to the game. Been playing a lot. Yeah. Well, good. That sounds very accomplished. Very good. And how about you? Something, you were just thinking about something. Well, I am too. Lots of new experiences over my life. So, how did you feel welcomed when you were the new kid at something like camp or school or somebody's party that maybe you didn't know anybody? How did you feel welcomed? Okay, a new girl named Catalina came to your school. No, and she didn't speak English. So you and your friends played with her and taught her words of English. That's wonderful. That would make me feel welcome if I were in a foreign country. Yes. First time you went to school, you were really scared. I remember I was too. And then you made friends. And how did that happen? Wait, let me stop telling. So you were on the rug, and you bumped into someone, and then you both said your names. That was good, wasn't it? Saying your name and finding out their name. You were friends at the end of the school year. You got to know each other, didn't you? Yeah. Any other things? Yes. This is how you felt welcome when you were new. So you welcomed someone else also who didn't know any English. That's very cool. Did you help too? That's terrific. So how about helping you think up some ways to make someone that's new feel comfortable or welcome? What are some things you can do? Ask them to be your friend. Is that a game? We'll see. I'm showing you. Oh, Pokemon, is that correct? Am I saying it right? That's what they want. They want what you say. What is that? Another more? What do you think about when you first meet someone? What about just smiling? Is that a good idea? Did you know that even if you don't feel like smiling, if you smile, that it changes your body chemistry, and after a while you actually feel like smiling. So if you're feeling really sad, angry, tired, then you make your mouth do this. You just stretch your mouth and you smile, and you don't feel it, but you do it. Then after a while you can't help it, you feel it. Then it goes into your eyes and your face and everywhere. Try it, it works. I used to do it every morning on the way to work. Yes. Yes. You ask them what they like to eat. That's exactly how it works. They say something and you say, me too. Pretty soon you find out the things you shared, which are kinds of food you like, kind of things you like to do together, what you think is fun, what matters most to you, what kind of family you have. How about pets, cats, dogs, things like that, right? What else can we do to make someone feel welcome? Yes?
Maybe you could start getting to know them, and then maybe you could ask them if they want to go to and start learning a little bit better, and you learn about it
Yes, asking questions and getting to know them and doing things together. Inviting them to join you is really important, don't you think? What about not letting people sit alone? Isn't that kind of important when they're new? If somebody's new and sitting in the school cafeteria or standing outside at coffee hour, we don't want new people to be alone, do we? So we want to sit next to them, stand next to them. And then what else is important? When you're trying to get to know somebody better, so what would you want to do? Now you know this person, you want to get to know them better. Ask them questions. That's good. And listen to what they have to say. Get them talking. Yes. Ask them and listen to them. Don't you think? That works well. And find out what's important to them, maybe. Yes? And let them know what's important to you. So now, help me think of more good ways than what we've done so far to welcome Reverend Tamara this morning. What can we do so she knows we're welcoming her today? What can we do right here? Yes? Like right this minute. Give her a compliment. We could tell her how much we like her earrings and her jacket. Yes. That is something I thought of. So this morning in class, you might want to make a card or a drawing, give it to her, afterward, don't you think? But I thought it might be kind of fun if we got a little bit lively. What if we all waved to her? How about everybody wave to each other? And something about our service today is about how there's more power in and hope in being together than there is in being alone. So if all of us wave, it's more exciting, isn't it? What if all of us said hooray together on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. Hooray! Now, you guys gurgle for me. What do you think? And we don't really have time to do all the other things that I think are welcoming, like singing and dancing. This is where John plays. So on our way out, as you pass by her on your way to, yes, one more. Your little present, especially something you made, because that's always meaningful, is something that matters to you, or something pretty found object, like a shell or a stone. Not too many stones. One more. I'm guessing she'd like something that you made better than something you bought. Is that right, Reverend Tamara? So on your way to class, and we're going to sing you out to this little lifeline. As you pass by her, you might just give her a hug.
We come here to take time to go inward for a little while, and I invite you to do so in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Let us pause for a moment and remember those who are weighted with regrets and recriminations. May the way be lighter. For those who bring confusion, anxiety, sadness. For those who carry hidden resentment, grief, and shame, may the way be less difficult. For those who seek courage to take new paths, may the way be made easier. We pray also for those outside this community, those who are suffering in the streets, in strife-torn communities, those for whom tragedy has altered their lives forever, victims of fate, crime, hatred, and violence. May we be reminded of what is good in our lives and in all people. May we find our way and hold fast to what is just, compassionate, and true. May we find the joy in writing the ways of change, the wisdom to know what is ours to change. And now, in the quiet of this sacred place, we pause in silence with our silent. Well, welcome, rejoice, and come in. What an honor. I get to introduce Reverend Tamara Suzuki Casanova to you during her first Sunday service. I said, well, Tamara, this is the last morning you can walk in at 10. So, I was delighted to be asked to do this, but then I got to thinking, you know, as the minister emerita, I try to hang out kind of on the outskirts of what's going on. I don't want to throw my platinum membership around. So I stay away from what's going on, but I had some general ideas I thought I could share with you. First of all, we decided to change the clouds and turn them into oak trees today. And I remembered when Live Oak was chosen as the name, it was the new UU community when it first started. And I think the name was chosen, I had nothing to do with it, because it was such a wonderful metaphor for a majestic, sturdy, organic presence in our lives. And I think it must have taken off because I found 2 other congregations had adopted the name. And once I was sent to Texas and I didn't even know it. Where the one is in Cedar Park, Texas, and the other one is in Alameda, California. One is a fellowship and the other is a church. So Marty Jenkins, who's our wonderful AV guy, will be showing all the slides of the service today, and it reminded me when I looked at it of a little spindly oak that we planted back in 1995. We had a little ritual and we sang and we planted it and it was out there, and then I looked, and 18 years later Marty took a photo of it last summer, that same oak tree. And you know what? It had survived all the construction of the sanctuary, and I fear some benign neglect. And I thought, you know, oak trees do serve as a wonderful natural metaphor for the ability of trees and this congregation to thrive and grow under all kinds of circumstances. Now, when Ellen first invited me to introduce Reverend Tamara, I would I really had no idea what I was going to say. I thought, oh great, I want to do this, but I was really drawing a kind of horrible blank. And I remember that awful old public joke, you know, when he said, it's funny, as I was walking up here, I was thinking, we all have a lot in common today. I don't know what I'm going to say either. So I thought, oh please, you know, Ellen called, she said, leaflet deadline, it's coming, you know, what are you going to do? And I'm going, oh quick, I have 24 hours to decide. And I was up in Lafayette, California at the time, visiting our daughter Chris and her family. And after dinner, we went to sit in the hot tub spa that the hotel had. And Peter and I were sitting there. And now, I so wish that I was facing a wall where there was a large stone plaque in Latin that read, Omnia Vincit Amor, which means, of course, love conquers all. And, you know, that would have been a wonderful theme for today, wouldn't it have been? I just thought it would have been great. But instead, I was facing another wall. And that wall had a plaque on it which said, Sperate Miseri Cabate Felicius, which in Latin with I'm dyslexic, you probably all realize that over time. I have a very poor recall of my 3 years of Latin, which I took back in high school. And it was all mixed in with my desperate wishful thinking. And so I translated it as, separate we are miserable, together we are happy. I thought, perfect. You know what more can I ask for? We do need each other in the good times and the bad, and this congregation understands the value of shared ministry. I'm off. I was so delighted until I Googled the phrase. And to my chagrin and dismay, it means when miserable hope, when happy beware. I was doomed, you know. I thought, oh, now what? Why was that plaque up on the wall in the hotel? I asked everybody, they didn't know. They said, do you know what it means? No, I don't know. No one knew. They called the front desk. Do you know what it means? No. So there I was with this thing, and I thought, why did that come into my life? Well, we're going to go back to the oak photos. But I thought, you know, this is a perfect example of how our assumptions can get us into trouble. And you know what that word assume means. Yep, it makes an ass out of you and me. Well, I still found myself pondering that bit of ancient wisdom. When miserable, hope. When happy, beware or be cautious. And I thought, how could it speak to us today? There must be some way. And, you know, I know that hope has been kind of a hallmark of this faith community since its inception, back in '85, almost 30 years ago. And that was when 22 members began to meet together. And you would not be here today had it not been for your ability to hope and trust and love and have confidence in the future. You do have immense faith in each other, and it has worked. So, but I'll be honest, you've had your share of misery too. You're a more seasoned, a more mature congregation than when I retired 10 years ago. You have experienced 4 diverse ministers with various talents, styles, theologies, skills. And you've done the hard work the last 2 years of an interim ministry with Reverend Thomas. And now I think you are prepared to move forward with Reverend Tamara beginning next week with a renewed sense of purpose and meaning. You all clearly indicated to the search committee that you wanted a minister who knew how to love you as well as lead you, and you found the right person. And your hardworking and diligent search committee members are, how many of you are here today? Could you stand up? Stand up, those of you who They are, of course, extra and justifiably excited and pleased to have Reverend Tamara here at last. And today is indeed a joyful day. And now here are 10 things a minister would love to hear that would make her even more joyful. Here they are. Keep these in in mind. Hey, it's my turn to sit in the front pew. 2, I was so enthralled I never noticed your sermon went 25 minutes overtime. Number 3, personally I find coming to the service on Sunday much more fun than staying at home and reading the paper or playing golf. 4, I decided to give Live Oak the $100 a month I used to spend on the lottery. Number 5, I volunteered to be the permanent facilitator for the Live Oak youth group. Forget the minimum guidelines for compensation for the minister. Let's pay him as much as we get so she could live like we do. I love it when you sing hymns I've never heard of. Since we're all here, let's start the service early. Nothing inspires me and strengthens my commitment like our annual stewardship drive. And 10, giving generously to what I value makes me feel good. Well, as you stand on the cusp of this new adventure with Reverend Tamara, each of you has all sorts of hopes and expectations about the future. So much anticipation, so much happiness. Oops, there's that word happy. A light bulb went off within my little pea brain, and I was reminded that quite often the brand new relationship between the minister and the congregation is known as a marriage, a courtship and marriage. It's not my favorite one, but it's one that we use. And what happier time can you imagine than celebrating a match made in heaven, which this clearly is, one consecrated in hope and happiness. Yet, the minister has this role where they also point out, getting married is complex and complicated, and the minister will invite serious reflection and discernment about this decision you're going to make. There are potential challenges facing a long-term relationship, and a good minister will bring all that out and talk about it to the couple. They'll ask, what impediments stand in the way of achieving a healthy future for you two together? Do you have any unrealistic expectations? Or, what was your family life like? And they go into all that. And even during the actual ceremony, the minister turns out to be a temporary killjoy. Rather than just celebrating the happiness of the moment and saying, yay, this is so wonderful, they say, wait a minute, this is for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, and sorrow and in joy. So they don't let you get away without reminding you about the other parts. So I decided that my primary role today is to be the killjoy minister and name the harsh realities of what you're going to be getting into, and be cautious. Be happy, but be cautious. So I thought that old Latin saying, "Cavate felices," would actually acknowledge the fullness and imperfection of all that you're doing. It reminds us that the euphoria of the moment has to be balanced with the awareness of life has challenges and difficulties. So my list of bewares for you, or be aware of, for you to consider this day as you begin your ministry with Reverend Tamara, are not too many, but I want you to think about them. Beware of becoming awake. Think about if you have any unrealistic or unconscious expectations or assumptions that you might have for Reverend Tamara. Think of being aware of not placing your anxieties about the future onto her shoulders immediately. Be aware of expecting her to be your new best friend. Be aware of making comparisons with other ministers you've known and loved. Reverend Tamara has worked with children and adults for years as a professional religious leader. How many years? 10 years? 15. So she is a very experienced minister. She brings a wealth of knowledge and experience that will enrich everyone. But she needs to know when your heart is in a holy place, when what you're feeling is important, share your story with her. She'll share hers with you. Become aware of your longings and own them. Our colleague, Thomas Shade, said something I thought that was very important. He said, our faith advances not by paying attention to all that we doubt, but by paying attention to what makes us sigh, what makes us groan, what makes us tear up, what makes us shudder, what makes us gasp, what startles us and surprises us, what makes us ache. Where once we cherished our doubts, now we need to name our longings. Be aware. Be aware that she'll need your help in understanding the light of our culture, and she will see it with fresh eyes. Don't expect her to immediately know the ropes of how church works unless you tell her. And do expect her to change things. There is a story, an old story about a monastery in Europe that was built on a cliff high, several hundred feet up in the air. And the only way to reach the monastery was to climb into this suspended basket that was pulled up by several other monks, hauling and tugging with all their strength. And obviously the ride up a steep cliff in the basket was rather terrifying. One visitor got exceedingly nervous about halfway up, and as he noticed that the rope in which he was suspended in the basket was old and frayed. With a trembling voice, he asked the monk who was riding with him in the basket how often they changed the rope. The monk thought for a moment and then answered brusquely, whenever it breaks. So I want you to say, beware of deferred maintenance. I'll close with a final, be aware. Never underestimate or doubt what shared ministry can accomplish. If there is clarity about both your expectations and responsibilities, make sure that your covenant spells out who is responsible for what. The congregation has grown in its awareness of the need for a shared covenant, I know, for healthy boundaries, and appreciation for the role of conflict is both inevitable and as possibility. It has learned that trust is earned and that love is what holds the whole thing together. So now I invite you to dance. I think it's time to sing Let It Be a Dance We Do, and I dare you to move. By Peter Rabel, who was a wonderful church builder, and he reminds us, we build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves at fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are forever bound in community. May it be so.